and that won't diminish learning outcomes so long as you're focused on the learning and not the grades itself.
So the ideal LMS is designed in a way that still has grades, but it doesn't put it at the forefront, right?
Exactly.
Like that's what you're saying, Liam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, grades are also very two-dimensional, like or
Ooh, tell me
one-dimensional.
more.
Well, like,
okay.
well, like
Simple.
they're very flat. Like if you get an A, you have no idea whether or not that student is just really good at taking a test or whether or not they actually know and understand the entirety of the material. So like,
Yeah.
why can't you have 2-letter grades? Why can't you be an AA student, one that takes tests very well and like the teacher knows that this person understands the material very well, but then it gets into the problem of subjectivity of the teacher, making sure that everyone has equal time with the teacher, making sure that like everyone has equal opportunities. So like you could have like a CA student, someone that doesn't someone that doesn't technically score very well, but the teacher knows the things that the student does know, they know extremely well.
Then you're telling a university you're passing students that have bad exam scores. So that's probably
well then the
them.
exams need to change.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I don't like exams.
Something cool that I've learned actually recently is how much do you guys think grades determine, or grades kind of are as a like determine how successful you are in your future?
Not at all.
Define success.
How that's a good question. In this case, let's say money. How much money you make, wealth, or how high you are in your corporation, what you do.
Yeah.
Just personal success, and I guess in wealth.
Okay, so
is a
There's
big
probably a correlation.
So on the x-axis we have grades,
Grades.
in what year? Like in college and
Let's do college.
okay, college grades on x-axis.
Yeah.
Y-axis is success in terms of money.
Success in terms of money.
Okay. What are we thinking this curve looks like?
Low.
Oh,
I'm thinking
curve,
like
yeah, good point.
I'm thinking like 0.1,
That's not what the curve is. That's not a curve.
0.1x.
He's
So
talking about a
Oh,
line.
so it's linear.
if you get like,
If you actually describe a polynomial to me and expect it to disappear in my head, I'm like,
It looks this way.
Sorry.
Okay.
So what we find actually
Tell us.
is when you account for family wealth and things like that predetermine these other factors, when you account for all other factors, there's absolutely zero correlation, absolutely zero, between the grades that you get in school and the money that you make.
Oh, so it's more important that you come from like a wealthy family than you get a good grade, for example, for actually.
So it is
economic
important
output.
that you come from a wealthy family. There is zero importance with how good your grades you get. There is correlation between family wealth and grades, but none that actually correlate to success in your future life.
Interesting. So, I mean, like, I would just think intuitively a student that gets better grades might have an easier time getting better jobs, whatever that means, right off the bat, and then they'd get on a different track and maybe go a little farther. But that's not how it ends up being.
No.
Interesting.
So a big thing that changes this is connections.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can have a 1.6 GPA, and with the right connections, you will get a great job at Adobe, and you will, or whatever company you want, and you're gonna do well in life.
And once you get the
1.6.
first
See, I knew
job,
it.
you're
This isn't why. This is why I don't get A's most of the time. This is.
that's what you're thinking. You're like,
Well,
this is why.
companies,
I was thinking
like
this.
after your first job, they're not like, oh, what was your high school and college?
Well, that's
GPA?
true.
Yeah,
it's all
that's-
about
yeah, they don't
experience
care.
at that
we would
point.
hire them, but they took this. They got an F in this.
Discrete math.
You got a
No.
D in thermodynamics.
Sociology.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
my intuition is leading me to believe that grades are important in the co-ops and the internships in the first jobs, and like Liam said, I feel like that's gotta have a correlation to your success later, because of course then those things can generate connections and the cycle continues.
Well, if anything, it feels like okay, let's say you get good grades in high school. Maybe you go to an Ivy League school instead of a different school, or maybe a community college school. I feel like then you're going to be surrounded by people that are more successful, whatever that means. And I feel like that's what it really does, is it allows you to network better.
Well,
I feel like better grades means maybe maybe your first co-op's a little better, but then you're also with other people that had a better first co-op. But I
I
don't
would
know.
agree with that.
But it sounds like Gavin's saying that the data just doesn't support
Yeah.
that.
Well, like,
so
the
data
it's
just
really
doesn't support
unintuitive.
that.
there
Yeah.
a big flaw in that is like a big component of where you get accepted into college is wealth.
Right.
So like if you are wealthier, like you can have lower scores and you'll be accepted to better colleges.
Because they know you're gonna pay the full ticket.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, so we don't really live in a meritocratic system.
No.
Well,
Yeah,
I
so
also,
I mean, and I know that,
meritocracy
but it's
here.
just it's unfortunate. I
Yeah.
mean, it shouldn't
Yeah.
be that way.
Yeah.
I also think that a big aspect to this, how this data is interpreted, is like, how do you even track this, right? Like, there's
I mean, I feel like you can track that. I feel like that's
Yeah, you
big
can
study. I feel like could
you
that
can track-
relationship we
yeah,
just
okay.
oh, but then with all the confounding factors.
Yeah, like
Oh, there might be
you can
something-
you can do a blind thing where you just check the person's yearly income, and you check it versus their grade in college, but you don't have any insight to how the infinitely many other variables contributed to the outcome.
This
Right.
this gets into statistical methods.
Okay, let's hear
So,
it.
I actually love this fact because I just took an econometrics class, and we went into this. There's different ways that you can account for these factors, so long as you have the data.
Okay.
So long as you have the data. If you have the data, there are different statistical methods that you can use to account for that data, given other variables. The math is very complex, and a lot of it I don't understand because it was just one econometrics course.
Uh-huh.
But there are very, very smart people out there in the world who know how to take this data that we have and that we can get and be able to account for it in terms of other variables.
And so when they do these studies, they're not obviously just asking what was your grade, what's your yearly salary. They're asking tons of other things, right?
Hundreds of questions with hundreds and hundreds of data points.
Yeah.
And each of those, 90% of them have no correlation, or this one might have a little correlation.
Okay.
But yeah, and they try to account for every possible thing.
Wow.
And yes, there are error terms. They try to minimize the error, but there's definitely error in what they're getting. And that's why we consistently do more and more studies.
So what's if grades are a very small or completely negligible factor, what is the biggest factor? Is it
I
family
actually
wealth?
don't know that. There's a couple big factors that I know. I don't know the biggest. Family wealth is a huge factor. The country you are from is a huge factor.
Interesting.
I would imagine.
Where I think that one made more sense to me, and if I were to guess, I would say that's probably the biggest factor, is the country that you're from, where somebody in the United States has a lot more privilege and ability to go further in life than somebody from Southeast Asia.
Well, that also probably ties to like your ethnicity and
Yeah, I
your,
was gonna say
your
that.
native language and your I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like that
true.
stuff is
I wonder
really-
if they accounted for attractiveness.
I don't think they did.
interesting.
I didn't.
That's definitely probably
Because
involved.
I've
for networking.
I've been hearing stuff that
Well,
like,
Wow, I didn't think about that.
There is the whole thing about taller people are more likely to be successful. I've heard that somewhere. They're more not. Hold on. Taller people are more likely to seem like they have authority.
Well,
that is-
confidence is the whole
that's
game.
something-
for
right?
those who are
That's-
watching on video, you'll see that if that's the case, Finian and Liam are very well off. And Gavin are kind of
not
screwed.
not as much.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you. I think then my education system that I'm building out should try to make people taller.
Okay.
I was
That's
like,
the real
it's
goal
all
of
gonna be.
education.
It's just a stills company.
That's
That's the entire thing.
I was so expecting like an extremely insightful thing. I was ready to market. I was yeah. So
We're just giving people milk, making them taller.
we're just giving them. I do want to go back to
Yeah.
your mindset behind the design of. Do you have a name for this LMS, by the way?
Currently, present systems. Or
Present
yeah.
systems.
Present systems.
Present systems.
Yes. I have a website which I'm getting
Oh.
up. So hopefully sometime in the next couple of months it will be up.
Nice.
Okay.
It's edpresent.com.
We might link it in the description, and then you can keep on clicking and just keep on checking back until it's up.
Every once in a while,
Yeah.
give me 2 months.
Yeah.
I'll get it up.